Like, I get people are angry at Qantas. I get that people are angry about, the service standards. They're angry about the way in which flight credits have been dealt with, and rightly they should be. And we've criticised Qantas about that as well. Well, as I've said repeatedly, I made this decision in the national interest, and there is no one factor that I will point to that swayed my decision one way or the other. In making this decision, I did have a national interest, not commercial interests at play when I was making that decision. Certainly, for context, this is the only airline that has something like that that has happened, and so I can't say that I wasn't aware of it, but certainly it wasn't the only factor. I don't think it's helpful for me to point to any one factor. We make decisions in the national interest all of the time. But let me just again, I haven't pointed to that as one factor. What I have said is that it provides a context for the decision that I made. There is a context there that is there. That's a fact. That is, a context that is there. So, I was not aware of it. So obviously, it was a context of the decision that I made. There was no one factor that influenced this decision. Qatar could commence reflying back into this airport today. They could fly into Darwin. They could fly into Adelaide, they could fly into Cairns, and they could fly into the Gold Coast and, as I said, into Darwin. They are choosing not to do so. They could also, on the flights where they're not flying the Airbus 380, increase passenger seats into those major airports immediately, and we would encourage them to do so. We've had a decade where aviation policy has just lurched all over the place. We have not had a proper plan. And so, this is one of the things that is a legacy from the previous government. They received the Harris Review and basically sat on it for 2 years. And we are now left to deal with that. I have undertaken targeted consultations on some slots reform at Sydney Airport, and we will have more to say about that shortly.
Minister, there are reports that on the same day that you made the decision about blocking the Qatar Airlines bid, that you signed off a letter to some of the women who were alleged they were invasively strip searched, but you mentioned in that there will be an expansion of the bilateral air flights agreement. You've also got Penny Wong yesterday calling Qatari's Prime Minister and discussing that same issue. So it seems like this is a pretty substantial factor. Were the women concerned about that specifically, and just why is this such a big issue right now?
Well, the first thing I'd say is that, we received, as is well reported in the media, I received a letter from Mark lawyers on behalf of these women detailing their experiences, which are pretty awful. They are, frankly, not anything we would expect anyone, and certainly no Australian travelling on an international airline, to experience. That is just a fact. And we received some media inquiries about that. I took the decision on the 10th of July, signed a letter to the women informing them that that decision had been made on the 10th of July.